All right, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Um, Today is going to be similar to last class to kind of break it up. It's not going to be straight from the book. I did add the PowerPoint that I used for the videos for anyone who may have missed them or anything like that. I added it into the content, and I also added the next thing that we're going to go over, which is the ATRA, American Therapeutic Recreation Association Code of Ethics, and it was done in 1990. So just to make it simple on everyone, what I'm going to do is just share that page to the screen, and we'll talk about it relatively quickly. We'll watch a few other kind of fun videos and see where we get. So let me put that on the screen. All right, we got the ATRA Code of Ethics on here, and what this is, again, this is from the American Therapeutic Recreation Association, and this is just, the code of ethics that we need to go by as service providers. So I'm not going to sit here and read this entire thing word for word, because that would be something you can do on your own. I added it to the page, like I say, but basically what it is about, and we've talked about a lot of these things already, but as a therapeutic recreation professional, these are the things that are expected of us when we provide services. And it's listed in 8 different principles. The first one being beneficence and non-maleficence. And what that is basically saying is we're going to not just protect our clients from harm, but we're also going to make active efforts to secure their well-being and to make them become better than they were when they got to us. So we want to find the maximum benefits that we can while minimizing possible harm. So beneficence is where we're providing benefit to our clients, and non-maleficence is where we are saying we are not causing any harm through negligence, trying to provide activities that we don't understand or that we're really not trained to do. I think of a ropes course. I couldn't go out there right now and take a group to a ropes course and start just doing activities, because I don't have the training and I wouldn't have the safety measures in place. So although I might get lucky and be able to provide some benefit, I would have a larger chance of providing harm, which is absolutely not what I want to do for the clientele that I'm working with. So second is autonomy. We want to preserve and protect the right of each individual to make his or her own choices. We talked about that and how that ties into, when we meet our clients, when we're doing the assessments up front, and we're talking, we're building that rapport with our clients. We find out what they like, what they don't like. When we're trying to plan their IPP, their individualized program plan, one of the big things that we want to do is try to include them in the decision-making process. And that in its own right is a good way to help them determine their own course of action and help have a say in their plan of treatment. So autonomy is giving them the, opportunity to make his or her own choices. It also plays into the fact that, I talked about how drug and rehabilitation facilities, sometimes there are situations where the clientele may not want to participate on a given day. They have now we can be motivating, which we need to be. And, we should not be easily dissuaded from having someone participate in what we're trying to offer. But at the same time, we can't force someone to do something that they just absolutely don't want to do on a given day. So that plays into autonomy as well. Justice is the third principle. We're responsible for ensuring that individuals are served fairly. There's equity and distribution of services. That's the main thing that we're talking about here. That is, we are giving everyone equal time, equal amount of effort on our end, and giving them all the same opportunities to improve. This is, we are having no regard to race, color, creed, sex, age, disability or disease, social or financial status, or just the fact that we may click with them better. None of those things matter. As far as justice goes, in what we're providing to the clients, we have to give them all equal distribution of our attention and of our services. Fourth, fidelity. This ties into the fact of just therapeutic recreation personnel have an obligation to be truthful, faithful, and meet commitments that we made to people that are receiving our services, as well as our colleagues, agencies, and the profession as a whole. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you're not sure you're going to be able to do it, don't say you're going to do it. So say what you mean, and mean what you say, and do what you say. That's fidelity. The fifth principle is veracity or informed consent. And what this is about is we are responsible to provide everybody that gets service from us with information regarding the service that they'll be provided, our training in the service that we're providing, and our credentials, the benefits that they should get out of the treatment. And that's all, we talked about briefing and debriefing even. That's during a session, up front. Briefing is how you tell them, what we're going to be doing. At the end of the session is a great time to do the debriefing, where you tell them, okay, this is what we did. What did you feel? What did you see? Do you think you learned anything today? How can you relate this to your everyday life? That's the sort of things that you can do with briefing and debriefing during a therapy session. We also talk about the outcomes, length of treatment, what activities they can expect, risks, limitations. So they have a right to know what's going to happen during our intervention. And we get informed consent when information is provided by the professional. 6, we all know what this principle is about. It's confidentiality and privacy. We are responsible for safeguarding information about the individual served. We all know about HIPAA is big on patient confidentiality as far as medical conditions and all. So we have the right to maintain that confidentiality. They have the right to control what information they share with us to a degree, unless it affects their safety or the things that we could provide to them. When a situation does arise that requires disclosure of confidential information about someone, that we need to protect their welfare or the interests of others, then as a therapeutic recreation professional, we have the responsibility and obligation to inform them that there were circumstances where confidentiality was broken. So there may be situations where, for the safety of others, we may have to breach confidentiality. That's the only time when that would happen. This even plays into not leaving documents on your desk that other people should see, not leaving your computer open to health records that other people could walk up and see. Especially in a lot of, when you're talking about substance abuse recovery centers, a lot of times the people that are there would love to remain anonymous, they don't want other people knowing that they're there. So it's not your right to even go home and talk about them at home in your home setting. That plays into confidentiality as well. I worked with someone at the regional center years ago that was having a bad day. They were having one of the clients that they were working with, and this was not a recreation therapist, it was another staff on campus that worked in the cottages with them. They were having trouble with a specific client. So they went to lunch and they were eating with a coworker and venting about their day and talking about the client by name. And just so happened, the client's parents were in the booth next to them. What are the odds, right? Not very high. This was a clear breach of confidentiality. They were using first name, last name, saying things that shouldn't have been thrown out there to the public. And they ended up getting in a good deal of trouble for this, because obviously the family in turn called them out at that point. And then they also contacted the regional center above, to speak to people above them. And they ended up being reprimanded for that. So that's a good example of how confidentiality plays into the real world, even when we don't really think about it. You don't think that the people's family or parents are going to be in your vicinity when you're talking. Now, can you not talk with your coworkers? Yes, you can, but it needs to be in a place that's not public. Competence is number 7, the 7th principle. And we know what competence is. We need to have competency in what we're doing. We need to seek to expand our knowledge base as far as therapeutic recreation practice. Part of being a CTRS, once you're certified, you do have to get CEUs, which, as a good therapist, you want to expand your knowledge anyway, but this also forces you to continually seek to expand your knowledge by getting at least 10 hours of CEUs a year. You have to keep a record of participation in these training activities because periodically in CTRC, the agency that does the certification will ask to see your records of CEUs. You don't have to send them every time you do it, but you never know when they're going to audit you and want to see your CEU forms. Number 8, this is common sense, compliance with laws and regulations. Therapeutic recreation personnel, we're responsible for complying with local, state, and federal laws, as well as ATRA policies that govern the profession of therapeutic recreation. So a lot of these, as I said before, are, common sense. They're things that we know, but this is a formalized document that ATRA put out for talking about how we need to interact ethically with our clientele. So I'm going to stop share for a second. Like I say, that particular that is on the that's on the Blackboard site now. Regardless of where you end up in life, regardless of what position you end up doing, whether it's recreation therapy, whether it's not, one of those things that we talked about on that last page that you really need to remember is confidentiality. And that's going to be especially important in certain situations. So that's going to be a factor that will be kind of across the board. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. And actually, I think I've got it figured out today where we can do this a little bit better. All right. Trying to move this box. There we go. All right, did it change? Do we have a video now? Okay. Not sure where my volume is. I'll adjust it when it comes on. This one is about music therapy. We had another video that we showed, you know, where they were playing guitars and talking about how they teach. This is a little different play on it. It is 3 minutes and 15 seconds, so not super long.
Stand down. Camera. Sit down. Easy. Touch your head. Stand up. Put your hands on your knees. Right here. Put your hands on your nose. Your hand. Can be like that. Like the what is light green? Light green. And Cody can get by the E. Yay! And you, yes, sir, can get by the D. D, sure.
All right, could you guys see the, well, let me ask this. Do you think that music Now, most of the things, especially at first, they were playing this one game where they were saying, touch your nose, touch your knee, things like that. Could that be done without music? That part they could have done without music. However, don't you think that the music added a lot of enthusiasm to the situation? You could actually see in one of the portions, one kid was totally disengaged. He was just sitting there, not doing anything. It came time to do something. He started smiling and got up, and it's now I myself, I cannot play the guitar. I could not get in there and play the guitar like that. That does not, and some of you are going to be in the same boat. Some of you may not like to sing. I don't mind singing. I can do a little bit of that, but I do not really play any instruments. You don't have to be able to play instruments to do music therapy. You saw how you had them, how they had them working as a team, like one person, sometimes you can just have like shakers or the little xylophone or drums, and you can make your own little rhythms that you do where everybody has a part and you go in an order, and then you have everybody doing their part at the same time. It's pretty cool when they see how it sounds good when you work as a team, and then you can discuss that with them of how one of the sounds sounded okay. Then when you added another one together, it sounded a little better. By the time you got to the end, it sounded like a little song, so when we work together and use teamwork, we're going to be more successful, and you can build a lesson out of it, especially if you're working with children or a group like that. So let me go to the next one we're going to talk about. It's one about animal assisted therapy. Children's Hospital. It's an excellent location.
Program got started at Phoenix Children's Hospital because we know that children and animals go together.
We find ways to bring a therapy animal into whatever a staff person might need to help them get their job done, to help the patient reach their treatment goals.
It's almost every single day that we have a dog that's here, and it's probably our most popular program that we have to offer the kids.
The moment the dog enters a room, it transforms the room into something familiar to them, such as maybe a backyard where they're used to throwing a ball with their dog.
Natalie is a brain tumor patient. She was in ICU for probably a good 2 weeks, and she didn't open her eyes. She didn't really respond much to anything until the therapy dog was brought in. She had tubes running in and out of her head to drain the fluid from her brain. They threw her sheet down on her bed. They had this huge golden retriever, I think it was, jumped up on the bed, and Natalie put her hand on the dog, and that was it. She opened her eyes. She immediately responded to the animal laying next to her. It was a real life-changing experience for her right then and there because she was 8. Everything was taken away from her. And at that moment, it kind of gave her being a kid again.
The kids that are here, and they're working on so many different things. There's so many different areas that they could focus on for their goals for that particular day. For me, when I'm working with a patient, they may have some cognitive areas that they're working on. And so maybe having an animal in the room might spark a memory for maybe a particular patient that is having difficulty with their memory.
The dog kind of breaks the ice a little bit, and the children are a lot more apt to respond and do things when they think they're just playing with the dog, and realistically by where I put the dog or what we're doing with the dog, they're actually doing therapy.
Even when Rosie was very sick, she was in ICU a couple of times, and they let the dogs come in there to see her. And I think that was very good for her because it uplifted her spirits, and it made her feel special because, you can't do anything in there. And there was times we just didn't know, it was sort of like, we didn't know, we don't know. And I said, well, can we bring the dogs in? Let her see the dogs. And I know it made her feel better because, she went to sleep, what she hadn't slept, went to sleep. The dog went to sleep, and they were, just like two little angels sitting there. And it was wonderful to see that. And I'm grateful that the therapy program is here because I honestly don't know what we would have done.
How the therapy dogs helped me was to motivate me through my therapy because I was very stubborn. I didn't want to do nothing. I didn't want to learn how do we walk or use my right side actually.
Rosie got motivated. Like I said, she worked better. She got ready to go home. And I think she went home a lot sooner than they anticipated because she worked harder.
I've had particular patients, one I can specifically think of who was having a bone marrow transplant, who had been very sick and really had gone into a shell, and we were trying to do physical therapy with him, and he really just was not interested. And once we got a dog in the room, it was a whole other world, and it really was extremely important to him in his recovery.
I've watched a child who could not move the right side of her body, put the ball in her right hand, use her left hand to pick the ball up and throw it. And you see that, and you see these children getting better and better with the assistance of a therapy dog. There's nothing better.
Dogs were really happy and soft and really grateful. And I did a lot of help. They showed me, brought on into joy.
They bring up a sense of joy into other little people.
Animals are unconditional. They don't care if you have hair, or if you don't have hair, or if you can walk, or if you can't walk. It's an unconditional love, and that's why I think the program is so important.
The Animal Assisted Therapy program here at Phoenix Children's really is a program that relies on grants, and donations, and fundraisers, support of the community, support of people who believe in animal-assisted therapy programs, and people like you and I that provide that support to ensure that pediatric patients have some level of normalcy in their hospitalization.
The Animal Assisted Therapy program solely depends on fundraising proceeds from special events and contributions from private organizations and individuals. So each year, we need around $100,000 to fund the program in its entirety. The goal is for them to have great, positive, rewarding experiences that's going to not just fill a couple minutes, but do so much more.
I do not believe I'd be doing half the things I am now if it weren't for the Therapy Dogs program.
Okay, as someone who is providing a service to try to help people, obviously we want to see improvements, and we want to see people getting better, and we want to see our plans, when they're put into action, be successful. But number one, especially when you're in a setting like this, the number one thing you want to see is that smile that you saw that those kids had. So just something to think about, and whatever it takes to make that happen. Something else that we all know and need to think about is, the power of positivity and the power that our minds have over the effectiveness of treatment, the effectiveness of healthcare, the effectiveness of therapy in general. The more positive that a person is, the more upbeat that they are, the better your results are going to be. So this was an awesome example of how the the one girl who hasn't done anything, they put a dog there and she basically wakes up, it changes her whole life. That was very telling, you know, that people respond to different things. So, you know, by providing happiness through this animal assisted therapy, you're able to get better results all the way around because your patients are in a better frame of mind. Great program, something excellent to implement into recreation therapy. All right, let's go to the next one. Hippotherapy.
EVE Online is a vast universe.
Welcome back. It's 5:44 now. There's a very special program out in Dripping Springs. It combines wonderful animals with wonderful people. It's a special kind of therapy that you will not find in an office building. You will find some beautiful animals at Red Arena in Dripping Springs, and these horses, they have very important jobs.
And when I started, I was not a horse person. I learned about this in school, but we've designed this one specifically for therapy, so it sits up a little further than a Western pad would.
It's known as equine assisted therapy or hippotherapy, which includes physical and occupational therapy, along with therapeutic riding lessons, also equine assisted counseling.
So it's just like a therapy ball for me. It's just like a peanut ball. I would do all these exercises with, but it's better because it's a three-dimensional movement and we're getting linear and we can go up and down hills. So all of that is going to engage the horse so much better.
The program at Red Arena has been around in this location since 2006.
The movement of the horse gives them this beautiful weight shift through their pelvis. It's three-dimensional and I just don't have any equipment that can give them that movement. And it also relaxes their tone. So if we have a really high tone and, you know, their legs are crossed and we get them on, stretches them out, relaxes their tone, then they start to really engage their core, strengthening rather than being tied up in so much tone.
Along with wonderful volunteers who collectively dedicate more than 100 hours a week, Red Arena employs professional physical therapists and certified instructors who work with each rider. They help with more than 150 rides a week.
Very natural.
I joined them as a Red Arena volunteer. After I got my nice new t-shirt, I had to get to work getting those horses ready.
And then we'll get to see where it's going to go. We'll get that kind of rubbed off there.
Somebody likes this.
Yeah.
Feels good, that a big fella. Cody was the first rider of the day. He got to ride Sven. It was Cody's first time on the horse, and he really did a fantastic job. The volunteers walk alongside the rider while the therapists work on the different actions.
Yeah, that's what we like to see.
All the while, the horse itself is providing that dynamic motion. Danny was up next, riding Hans. Danny's a veteran. He's been doing this for years now. I was very excited to get back on the horse. Jennifer let me step up and help out with Danny. Can you drop it in there?
You open up his hands a little bit.
Oh, there you go. You got it. It's a really complex program that benefits people of all ages, dealing with a wide range of physical, mental, or emotional challenges. Jennifer let me try it out, and King Arthur was the horse who drew the short straw and had to carry me around. The red pad you see that I'm sitting on, it's specially designed by Jennifer herself. You really have to focus to keep your balance, which is part of the plan. She also showed me a few exercises.
And then throw it through there. Good. Good job. Good.
Oh.
Great.
The hour-long sessions also help with confidence. The best part, many riders are just having a good time, not even thinking about being in therapy at all.
Well, when they're here, they're in charge. They tell the horse when to go. They tell it when to stop. They're up high. They're in control. And you just see that confidence starting to build in them, and then their families will talk about how that carries over into other things. So that's what I love about it, is that I can work on so many things with my rider during that hour that I just can't get in a clinic setting. And and they're happy, they're excited. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to be here.
Very exciting, a very fun day. The Red Arena offers those sessions during the school year, and also they host camps for people during the summertime. They work with anyone aged 2 to 99. For more information.
All right, that was an example of a phenomenal hippotherapy program. I loved how they had the little dinosaur trail, and they had, they talked about how you're working on control of the core. That's a lot of the people who are participating in hippotherapy. They have trouble with controlling their upper body and their core stability. So the things that they were doing, like reaching out to hang the rings, or shooting the basketball into the goals when they went by those. Yes, that's just fun little diversionary things that are added to riding the horse. And that's part of what makes them forget, like they said, makes them forget that they're in therapy and they're just having fun. That's the key to getting someone to get the most out of what you're offering. Really, really, really good program. You could tell because of those additional things that they had added. A lot of riding programs don't have the other activities, the small things that make them reach out and lean and try to throw a ball through a tire and things like that. That's a good addition that I think is, a strong thing to add to a hippotherapy program. If any of you guys are interested in hippotherapy, I don't know if we've got any horse people in the class. Some people love horses, some people are scared of horses, but it is a really fun time. You don't have to be a horse person to help with it. And NMRC here in town actually has a hippotherapy program, and you could go out and volunteer, see how you like it. It runs during certain times of the year, but it's usually 1 or 2 days a week that they do it for certain stretches of the year. So if any of you guys ever want to try to get out there and volunteer and work with the hippotherapy a little bit, they would welcome the help, I'm sure, and I think that you would enjoy doing it. So just something to kind of offer, and I can help you with that information. Just email me or something and let me know if you're interested in doing that at any point. So let's look at the next one. All right, we talked about people with autism.
Hi, welcome to our brand new sensory.
Oh, she cut in on me there. That was rude. Anyway, we talked about sensory rooms and how we have certain clients that we may work with that need sensory stimulation because of whatever they may be dealing with in their life. Individuals with autism have a lot of sensory issues, people who've had traumatic brain injuries. Some individuals who just are developmentally delayed can benefit from sensory stimulation and sensory rooms like she is going to give us a little tour of here.
Sensory room, dedicated by the Rails Foundation in honor of Sandy and Mel Rosenblatt. I am so excited to show you our new room. Come on in, take a look. All right, we are now inside the room. As you can see, we have the ability to dim the lights to the comfort of each child. We also have padding all over the floor and across the walls for comfort and safety. To the left is our climbing wall. Climbing walls help build confidence, a sense of accomplishment, balance, body awareness, muscle strength, critical thinking skills, and improve gross motor skills. They provide proprioceptive input to help improve sensory integration, and they're a whole lot of fun. And here's our tire swing. Swings provide sensory input to help kids calm themselves and self-regulate. They can also learn body awareness, balance and coordination, motor planning, and spatial skills. And this is our Airwalker swing. It has a stretchy fabric providing sensory pressure and a fun private space to bounce, swing, spin, or quietly relax to the movement. Right here, I'm sitting on the crash mat. It's filled with foam and kids can jump or crash to channel restless energy. Or they can sit and rest for a cushiony, fun, and safe experience. The crash mat can also be placed under the swings for additional safety. On top of my lap are our fiber optic bendable lights. These strands glow different colors to encourage visual tracking or stimulation, can bend into shapes, and can be draped on the body for tactile input for calming, attention, and focus. And here we have 4 gel floor tiles. They have squishy, colorful gel in the inside that you can step, sit, jump, or push the gel around, and the gel will ooze into a blend of fun colors. It encourages visual processing and sensory stimulation, as well as gross motor skill development. And here we have our quiet corner. It's a soothing private space to calm down or unwind. There are a variety of sensory tools inside to help kids self-soothe when feeling overwhelmed or overstimulated. So as you can see, we have a sensory environment that provides a variety of benefits for all of our amazing children. I hope you enjoyed our tour, and thank you so much again.
Okay, that room looked kind of fun to me. I want to step on the gel pads for sure. I think that looked like fun. I think I would probably tear down the climbing wall if I got on that. I don't think that's my size type climbing wall, but you know, I like the fact that they have the calm down corner. When I worked at the NMRC, we had individuals out there that when they were upset, you know, they may be nonverbal, they're unable to talk. So they couldn't say, hey, I'm upset about this. And they would start to act out. And a lot of times part of what their plan that would be shared with us through the psychology department and different groups, we would figure out that the best thing to do for these individuals is to give them a quiet, calming space and just let them calm down. Or self-soothe, as they said. You know, they may need to, you know, I think of that as something that infants and very young children self-soothe. But if we are talking about people with intellectual disabilities who are at a much younger level of cognitive, you know, ability or their thought processes, they may be able to self-soothe just the same if given an opportunity and space to do so. They talked about releasing, you know, nervous energy. You know, certain ones would go in there and go wild on the climbing wall and jumping up and down in the little swing thing. Really neat space. You couldn't have too many people in there at once, obviously. I'm glad she wore her mask. I felt safer just knowing that she had her mask on while she made the video. So, let's see, we have, I think, one more video that was kind of a fun couple guys that run an adventure therapy program. Oh, I wanted to bring up one other thing. Back on the hippotherapy video, it reminded me, you know, they said that when our patients are here, they're in charge. They tell the horse when to go. They tell the horse when to stop. You know, that plays into that autonomy that we talked about in the code of ethics. Also, something that's really, really cool with the NMRC hippotherapy program is there are a pretty large number of individuals there that aren't verbal, that they do not speak. And they have a very good adaptive equipment pile that they use with these individuals. They have boards that they can press pictures and different things in it there, help them to speak. It speaks for them. And they learn how to say things like go, stop, whoa, faster, fun. They may not be saying whole sentences, but they really start talking on their assistive boards, and they're on the horse with their board, and so they're working on communication as well as the other benefits that they get from being on the horse. So you can double dip in these situations. And I think that's something really cool to see too, is to see these guys really be chatterboxes. They're using their chatterboxes to talk, but they become chatterboxes in this situation where normally you can hardly get them to use their boards to speak. They get out there on these horses and they're saying, go faster. Whoa, all these different things, fun. They talk a lot. So it's another neat thing that's tied in with hippotherapy and that I thought of during the video and meant to mention. All right, let's watch this other video real quick. This is at a facility called Michael's House. Doesn't talk a whole lot about what the facility is, and it really doesn't matter because adventure therapy is something that can be used in lots of settings. It's great for kids. It's good for substance abuse recovery centers. Most any setting, you're going to have people who would really enjoy adventure therapy, and there's a lot of different levels of adventure therapy, from hiking to whitewater rafting to skydiving, depending on your situation. There's tons of different things that could be done, but this is their story of what they do and the benefits that their patients see from it.
Welcome to the Warren and Benny Show. I'm Benny. I'm Warren. We are your Michael's House Adventure Program leads. It's basically a program that was created for Michael's House where we can take our patients outside of the walls of treatment, where their eyes, their minds, and most importantly, their hearts and their souls just open up. We get a lot of our patients from different backgrounds, so when they come and they see sand and cactus, and trees in the desert, they're like, whoa, this is very cool.
I was, born and raised locally here. I understand a lot of our terrain out here. I understand a lot of our wildlife, things like that. Yeah, I get to share a lot of that with our patients.
We are counselors, drug counselors as well. We love to have fun in recovery, but we also get people to understand that recovery is their responsibility. This is going to be the time where you're going to have to do the work for your recovery. And we are able to open that door, to the next level of care for them. Patients have breakthroughs on the trip. There's so many stories, like when we're with our patients out doing activities, like we get to really witness something we don't see in everyday life.
Actually, yesterday, I was on an outing, the indoor rock climbing gym, had a good group of guys. So there's a young man, recovering heroin addict, but when he was much younger, he fell out, he OD'd, and he fell on top of his arm. So now there's a lot of muscular damage. So I told him, are you going? And are you going with us? He's like, well, I don't know, Benny, how am I supposed to climb, And I go, well, what do you mean, how are you supposed to climb? He's like, well, look at my arm. So I actually reached out, I said, give me your hand. When I pulled on him, he was strong enough that it pulled him forward. So that was my little gauge, and I said, okay, you're going with us, I'm putting you on the list. And I said, we're not gonna have any expectation on this. We're just climb. So we geared up and he took off and he started climbing. What happened is he made it about a third of the way up and he slipped. And he kind of looked at me, kind of surprised. I said, you're okay. And I said, when you're ready, start again. I could see him, even though he wasn't looking down much, he kept looking back and smiling. He made it to the top, all the way to the top. And that kid's smile was so big. And he said, I can't believe I did it. He said, my hand I kept slipping. I couldn't grip it good. And I said, you gripped it just fine. He goes, now I know that I can do more than I give myself credit for.
If you trust this process, we're going to show you different things. We're going to take you different places. We're gonna help you to develop your recovery story.
I don't know of anyone else that has an adventure program the way that we do, and the way that we do things here as a team.
No matter what you have gone through, no matter what you're faced with, there is a solution. Our priority is to get you to have your own personal breakthrough so recovery is possible, because it is possible for you.
All right, those guys look like they'd be a lot of fun. Very different. They seem to be, you could definitely tell who was the loud one and who was the quiet one. But we know that different people respond to different people differently. Some people probably much prefer the quiet guy, who was talking about the rock climbing. A lot of them probably much prefer the loud guy, They both seem pretty cool, and it seemed like they have a really good program. And I like success stories like the one that he shared. You want your individuals, by being set up to be successful, to improve their self-worth. They feel better about themselves. You want them to be at the end like, hey, I can do more than I've been doing, and I can do, I can get better. So very successful. That was a good success story for them to share. And that, guys, is all that I've got for today. I hope you enjoyed the videos. I know it's just different. I wanted to break things up. I didn't want to just sit and talk to you about ethics all day. That would have been pretty dry. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Y'all be safe. Have a good Halloween, and I'll talk to y'all later. Keep a heads up. Keep your eyes open for what we're going to do on Tuesday. I'm going to look at our schedule some this weekend and plan out accordingly. And I'll let you know what we're going to do. Send out the invitation as usual. So have a great weekend. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll talk to you later.
Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, guys.